For centuries, meal habits were sporadic and dictated by various factors: success in hunting or agriculture, religious practices, work schedules, and even the availability of lighting among them. So how did we arrive at this trio of meals? In the Middle Ages, Christian religious routines dictated that nothing could be eaten before morning mass. The word breakfast, literally meaning to break the fast from the night before, is believed to have originated in this period. Despite the term's origins, however, breakfast as a regular meal wasn't widely adopted until Britain slowly began industrializing and its population started moving from farms to cities throughout the 1600s. As the Industrial Revolution progressed through the 18th and 19th centuries in Europe and the United States, so did the need for a regular morning meal to sustain workers through labor-intensive mornings. By the early 20th century, breakfast culture took off even further thanks to the figures such as John Harvey Kellogg, who invented cornflake cereal, as well as marketing campaigns in the 1920s and 30s promoting breakfast as the most important meal of the day. As industrialization reshaped daily routines and more people moved from farms to factories and offices, workers needed something to sustain them during the long hours between their morning and evening meals at home. Enter lunch, the last of the three modern meals to cement its place in our daily eating habits. As late as 1755, lunch was simply understood as a small amount of food, more of a snack than a formal meal. Though the origins of the word are murky, it's likely a short form of luncheon, itself possibly from the English word lump, a small mass, or nuncheon, a slight midday refreshment. It wasn't until around 1850 that lunch officially began filling the gap between breakfast and dinner. By the turn of the 20th century, it had become a defined meal, typically eaten between 12 p.m. and 2 p.m., and consisting of standard lunch fare, even by today's standards: sandwiches, soups, and salads. I just eat when I'm hungry. I don't put a label on it. I don't need a timestamp. When my stomach growls, I go to town. Of our three routine meals, dinner has the deepest roots. In ancient Roman times, it was one large meal everyone ate, although it was consumed earlier in the day than it is today, sometime around noon. This extended into the Middle Ages in Europe. Laborers often ate a small meal of bread and ale early in the morning before starting a day's work on the farm. Their main meal of the day, called dinner, was served around noon, and a light snack known as supper was sometimes eaten in the evening. By the late 1700s, the Industrial Revolution was in full swing in Britain. Workdays became longer, people could no longer come home to eat their main meal of the day, and artificial lighting, primarily candles, became more accessible and reliable, enabling household activities to go later into the evening. The timing of dinner began to shift, and by the end of the 18th century, many people were eating dinner in the evening after returning home from work. For most people in Europe and the United States, this evening meal became the largest and anchor meal of the day by the mid-1800s, making it the traditional family dinner as we still know it today. Full-service gas stations were the standard in the 1950s, with attendants providing services such as pumping gas, checking oil levels, cleaning windshields, and inspecting tire pressure. The first self-service gas station in the U.S. opened in 1947 in Los Angeles, but the concept didn't gain widespread acceptance until the 1970s. Several factors contributed to the shift towards self-service stations. Rising labor costs made it more expensive for station owners to employ attendants, prompting many to adopt self-service pumps to reduce expenses. Technological advancements also improved the safety and ease of self-service fueling, increasing consumer acceptance. The 1973 oil crisis, which led to soaring gas prices, further accelerated this transition as both businesses and consumers sought cost-saving measures. Today, New Jersey remains the only state that prohibits drivers from pumping their own gas, maintaining a full-service mandate. This law, known as the Retail Gasoline Dispensing Safety Act, has been in place since 1949. On April 14th of 1865, just hours before he was tragically shot by John Wilkes Booth at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C., President Abraham Lincoln signed legislation creating the Secret Service. At the time, however, the new department's purpose was not to provide presidential protection, it was to combat counterfeit currency. By the end of the Civil War, nearly one-third of the U.S. currency in circulation was forged. The Secret Service was founded as a bureau within the Treasury Department to rehabilitate and safeguard the country's monetary system. The night of Lincoln's assassination, just one local police officer was assigned to escort the president from the White House to the theater, but the officer's whereabouts at the time of the shooting are unknown. It was not until after the assassination of President William McKinley in 1901, when Vice President Theodore Roosevelt took over, that the Secret Service's mandate was expanded to include the protection of the president. The former President's Protection Act of 2012 reverses the previous law that limited Secret Service protection for former presidents to 10 years if they served after 1997. This is from historyfacts.com. The colonial American economy primarily used a mix of British currency, pounds, shillings, and pence, Spanish dollars, and various forms of local currency. There was no unified economic system, the value of money and exchange rates varied among colonies, and historians admit it's a challenge to draw direct comparisons to modern prices. Using various online converters, we can loosely estimate $20 to be equivalent to about 100 shillings at the time. 20 shillings could buy 50 acres of land in Maryland, or about 3 pounds of beef in New England. In 1977, the same amount would outfit a man in a full suit of broadcloth in Rhode Island. In 1785, the dollar was established as the official unit of currency of the newly formed United States, and the first coins were printed in 1794 when the Coinage Act established the U.S. Mint. The first paper money came later in 1861. While the young country grappled with economic euphormity, for decades the U.S. dollar was well ingrained by the mid-19th century. It wasn't all that long ago that bills far larger than the now standard $100 were in use in the United States. Currency notes in denominations of 500, 1,000, 5,000, and 10,000, all which were last printed in 1945, were in circulation until July 14th of 1969, when the Department of the Treasury officially discontinued them due to lack of use. And while these notes remain legal tender today, most of them are probably in the hands of private numismatic dealers and collectors. That's no surprise, as these notes can fetch a pretty price depending on their age, scarcity, and condition. In 2019, a collection of 3 of the rarest known U.S. paper bills in existence was established at a combined value of around $8 million. The most valuable in the set was a $1,000 bill from 1891, one of only 2 known to exist, valued between $2 million and $3 million. There was even a $100,000 gold certificate, the highest denomination ever issued by the federal government. This is from historyfacts.com. By 1870, $20 could cover an entire month's rent for a Lower East Side tenement apartment in New York City. Though the conditions in tenement buildings were often overcrowded, unsanitary, unsafe, many working-class families and new immigrants called them home. Today, after centuries of both inflation and gentrification, the average rent in the same Manhattan neighborhood hovers around $5,000 a month. That $20 rent might sound like a great deal in comparison, but most laborers only earned about $50 a month, meaning 40% of their income often went to housing. In rural areas, $20 was also sufficient means to buy a milking cow, providing a steady supply of milk, cheese, and butter for a household. A decent selection of clothing was also within reach with $20 to your name. Newspaper advertisements from San Francisco touted formal wear such as silk suits for $12.50, heavy woolen coats known as ulsters for $5, and twilled silk umbrellas for $1.50 each. Altogether, that was $19 worth of clothing. This is from historyfacts.com. In the economic boom of the Roaring '20s, consumer goods became increasingly accessible to everyday Americans. For the men and women who dressed up to go out and dance the Charleston, $20 could easily cover a stylish suit, coat, or dress for the occasion. The popularity of household appliances was also on the rise. Electric stoves didn't outnumber gas ranges for another decade or so, but a smaller electric oven for the kitchen countertop cost around $10, putting home innovation and upgrades within reach for some Americans. The average U.S. income averaged between $3,000 and $5,000 a year throughout the decade, so to many $10 here or $20 there wasn't just pocket change. It represented a decent chunk of their monthly income of just a few $100s. In the 1920s, the popularity of cars exploded in the U.S., but $20 wasn't near enough to buy a popular Ford Model T. That would run you a whopping $260. If you did have a car, though, $20 could fill the 10-gallon gas tank about 10 times over. This is from historyfacts.com. The average U.S. household income in 1950 was about $3,300, and $20 still had decent purchasing power for necessities and beyond. It was, for instance, possible to plan a full holiday meal for your family with much less than $20. In fact, according to the American Farm Bureau Federation, it cost just under $7 for a meal that included a 16-pound turkey, potatoes, stuffing, dinner rolls, cranberries, and pumpkin pie throughout the entirety of the 1950s. At that price, families could add some extra vegetables such as carrots and maybe even a nice bottle of wine or champagne. As another example, $20 could buy you 400 cans of Coca-Cola. Excessive, no doubt, but by the end of the 1950s, the U.S. indeed loved its canned sodas, and since Coke was still priced at just 5 cents a pop, just about anyone could enjoy one now and then. The cost of medical care was much lower in the 1950s as well. $20 could cover 3 or 4 checkups with your doctor at about $5 to $6 a visit, or even a trip to the operating room for minor procedures. This week I'm going to shoot some random facts at you. Like octopuses have 3 hearts and blue blood. 2 hearts pump blood to the gills while the third pumps it to the rest of the body. And when they swim, the heart that delivers blood to the body actually stops beating. Did you know that a day on Venus is longer than its year? Venus takes about 243 Earth days to rotate once on its axis, but only 225 Earth days to orbit the sun. Did you know that sea otters hold hands while they sleep to keep from drifting apart? They often form rafts of otters floating together. Did you know that bananas are naturally radioactive? They contain potassium-40, a naturally occurring isotope. Did you know that a group of flamingos is called a flamboyance? Did you know that the microwave oven was invented by accident when a scientist noticed a candy bar melted in his pocket near radar equipment? Did you know that your stomach gets a new lining every 3 to 4 days to prevent it from digesting itself? Did you know that your nose can remember 50,000 different scents? Did you know there's a town in Norway called Hell and it freezes over every winter? Did you know a group of porcupines is called a prickle? Did you know Iceland has no mosquitoes? Some very smaller remote island nations might also lack mosquitoes. However, Iceland is notable for being a large, habitable landmass where mosquitoes are absent. Did you know the Eiffel Tower can grow over 6 inches taller in summer due to heat expansion? Did you know Barbie's full name is Barbara Millicent Roberts? Did you know the word uncopyrightable is the longest English word with no repeating letters? Did you know February 1865 is the only month in recorded history not to have a full moon? While the rest of the world is in 2025, Ethiopia is in the year 2017 according to their calendar. The Ethiopian calendar having 13 months with 12 months of 30 days each and a 13th month of 5 or 6 days. Did you know Captain Crunch's full name is Horatio Magellan Crunch? Did you know no number before 1,000 contains the letter A? Did you know Earth's rotation is changing speed? It's actually slowing. This means that on average the length of a day increases by around 1.8 seconds per century. 600 million years ago, a day lasted just 21 hours. Did you know lemons float but limes sink? Try this easy science experiment and you'll find that lime slices drop to the bottom of a glass while lemon slices float at the top. But why? This is one of those things to wonder about that you need the answer for, so here it is. Limes are denser than lemons. Did you know there's only one letter that doesn't appear in any US state name, and that is the letter Q? Did you know that tiny pocket in jeans was designed to store pocket watches? The original jeans had only 4 pockets, that tiny pocket for a pocket watch plus 2 more on the front and just 1 in the back. Did you know you should subscribe to this channel to make your life complete? Did you know a day on Venus is longer than its year? It takes Venus 243 Earth days to rotate once on its axis, which is longer than the 225 Earth days it takes to orbit the Sun, according to Space Center Houston and 10news.com. This means a day on Venus is longer than a Venetian year. Did you know that babies are born with 275 to 300 bones? By the time they're adults, they only have 206, since some bones fuse together as they grow. Did you know it takes roughly 540 peanuts to make a jar of peanut butter? Situated off the coast of Hideaway Island Resort and Marine Sanctuary is the Venetia Post, the world's only under-the-sea post office. Vacationers who want to send a waterproof postcard home can snorkel or scuba dive 10 feet below the ocean surface. A special flag is raised above the water to indicate when postal workers are in the water. Did you know your heart beats an average of 100,000 times each day? Did you know back in 1967, Martin Luther King Jr. and Coretta Scott King covered the cost of Julia Roberts' hospital birth? Yes, the actress, Julia Roberts. It turns out Roberts' parents couldn't afford the bill, and the King's gesture was a heartfelt payback. Julia's parents, who ran a theater school in Atlanta, welcomed the King children as students when they had trouble finding a place that would accept them because they were black. Did you know the sun is about 400 times larger than the moon? Did you know a blue whale's heart is so large it can weigh up to 400 pounds and is about the size of a small car? The heart of a blue whale is so big some of their arteries are large enough for humans to swim through. Did you know lightning is significantly hotter than the surface of the sun, where the surface of the sun is around 10,000 Fahrenheit? A lightning strike can reach temperatures of 50,000 Fahrenheit, according to the National Weather Service. This means lightning is about 5 times hotter than the sun's surface. Did you know the deepest place on Earth is the Mariana Trench, which is 36,201 feet deep? Did you know Lego is the world's largest tire manufacturer? They produce over 700 million tiny tires a year for their toys. Did you know competitive art used to be an Olympic sport? Between 1912 and 1948, the International Sporting Event awarded medals for music, painting, sculpture, and architecture. Did you know Google Images was created after Jennifer Lopez wore that infamous dress at the 2000 Grammys? So many people were searching for her outfit, the search engine added an image function. Did you know if you Google the word askew, that's A-S-K-E-W, the entire page will tilt? Did you know in your lifetime you can walk enough to circle the globe 3 times? Did you know the hottest temperature ever recorded on Earth was 134 degrees Fahrenheit? The recording was taken in Death Valley, Nevada in July of 1913. This is the last day of the Random Facts series, so let's see what we have. Did you know strengths is the longest word with only 1 vowel? Did you know beaver anal secretions, known as castoreum, have been used as a vanilla flavor substitute for certain foods and luxury cosmetics? Did you know Twister was the first movie released on DVD? Did you know there is a very rare condition called Anton syndrome in which a person becomes blind but is unaware of it and will even deny it? Their brain will generate false visual images so they continue to believe that they can see. Did you know spread across their entire lifetime, the average person spends about 1 full year sitting on the toilet? Who conducts these studies? Did you know it would require close to 2 million mosquito bites in order to lose 2 liters, a life-threatening amount of blood? Did you know the bluebird in the original Twitter logo is named Larry? And that so ends my Random Facts series. Since 2004, the Boston Typewriter Orchestra has been playing concerts, making and performing music by only using vintage typewriters. The various sounds of clacking, sliding carriages, bells, and spinning rollers contribute to the orchestra's unique sound, according to Ripley's Believe It or Not. According to their official website, they're a collective endeavor which engages in rhythmic typewriter manipulation combined with elements of performance, comedy, and satire. BTO aims to entertain the masses while providing an outlet for the creative urges of its members. Did you know bubble wrap was initially invented as a textured wallpaper, though it didn't initially succeed in that role? In 1957, engineers Alfred Fielding and Mark Chavanaugh created bubble wrap by sealing 2 shower curtains together, trapping air bubbles to create a textured surface. They envisioned it as a unique and innovative wallpaper option. However, the product didn't gain traction as wallpaper and was later repurposed as packaging material. By 1960, they founded Sealed Air Corporation, and bubble wrap became widely used for shipping fragile items. Why do people pop bubble wrap? As it can get annoying. Stress relief. Popping bubble wrap can be surprisingly calming. Instant gratification. Each pop gives a tiny burst of satisfaction. Fun and nostalgia. For many people, bubble wrap is associated with childhood and memories, or the excitement of opening packages. And sensory stimulation. The texture, sound, and feel of bubble wrap appeal to people who enjoy tactile experiences. Did you know turtles can breathe through their butts, a process called colloquial respiration? Yes, that's correct. Some turtle species, particularly those adapted to aquatic environments, utilize a process called colloquial respiration, also known as colloquial breathing, to absorb oxygen through their cloaca, a single opening at the base of their tail used for excretion and reproduction. This is not breathing in the traditional sense, using your lungs, but rather a form of diffusion, where oxygen is extracted from the water passing over specialized tissues in the cloaca. Certain turtles have specialized sacs called bursa connected to their cloaca. These bursa are lined with blood vessels and tiny finger-like projections, which function like gills. Turtle pump water in and out of their cloaca, and the oxygen dissolved in the water diffuses into the blood vessels within the bursa. This allows turtles to stay submerged for extended periods, particularly during brumation. Did you know the egg came before the chicken? While the question is often posed as a paradox, scientific understanding of evolution and genetics points to the egg existing first, specifically in the form of the hard-shelled amniotic egg that predates the chicken by millions of years. The first chicken as a distinct species emerged from a mutation within an egg laid by a bird that was not yet a chicken. Eggs, in the general sense of a shelled structure containing an embryo, have existed for hundreds of millions of years, long before the first chicken. Dinosaurs, for example, laid eggs, and birds evolved from a group of reptiles. The chicken as we know it is a relatively recent species, a domesticated descendant of the red jungle fowl. The first true chicken likely arose from a mutation in an egg laid by a bird that was not yet a chicken, but was closely related. That egg contained a mutation that resulted in the first true chicken. Did you know, why do we say I got egg on my face? Embarrassment is universal. Eggs and embarrassment have been linked since the Middle Ages, but this idiom is a more recent invention. Before getting egg on your face became an idiom, throwing eggs at people locked in the stocks was a common practice in the Middle Ages. Rotten eggs were hurled at religious and political speakers throughout the 1700s and 1800s, the projectile being an effective method to express disapproval. The practice is represented in fiction as well. In Middlemarch by George Eliot, Mr. Brooke gets aggressively egged during a political speech. Although egg throwing was a common method of dissent and humiliation for centuries, getting egg on your face didn't become an idiom until the mid-20th century. Eggs don't instill fear in everyone, but having egg on your face may inspire a bit of trepidation. But if you do have egg on your face, literally or figuratively, you can remember that embarrassment is temporary and you'll get through it. The ancient Romans used to drop a piece of toast into their wine for good health, hence why we raise a toast. Yes, there's a popular belief that the phrase raise a toast originated from the ancient Roman practice of dropping a piece of spiced or charred toast into wine. Roman wines were sometimes bitter or acidic. Adding toast was believed to absorb some of the acidity and improve the flavor. The Latin word tostus, meaning roasted or parched, evolved to refer to the drink itself, which had been enhanced with toast. Over time, the act of honoring someone or something with a drink became associated with this practice, eventually leading to the use of toast to refer to the act of drinking to one's health or in celebration. William Shakespeare's play The Merry Wives of Windsor references this practice, with Falstaff requesting a quart of spiced wine and saying, "Put a toast in it." Did you know, in this fact you have to take with a grain of salt, or a liter of saliva perhaps. They say you produce enough saliva in a lifetime to fill 2 swimming pools, about 25,000 quarts. They say it's true, and it's kind of wild. The average person produces between 0.5 to 1.5 liters of saliva per day over a lifetime, and let's say around 80 years old. That adds up to roughly 14,600 to 43,800 liters of saliva, and yes, I did the math. To put that in perspective, an Olympic-sized swimming pool holds about 2.5 million liters of water, but a standard residential pool might hold around 40,000 to 50,000 liters, and it would depend on the size of the pool. Saliva is a watery fluid produced by your saliva glands located in your mouth. So yes, your lifetime saliva output could fill about 2 average backyard swimming pools, depending on the swimming pool and depending on the person. Did you know Qing Shi is often cited as one of the most successful pirates in history, and not just among women, but overall? Her story has inspired books, documentaries, and even fictional characters like Mistress Qing in Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End. Qing Shi, born in 1775 in Guangdong, China, rose from humble beginnings as a prostitute in a floating brothel to become one of the most powerful and feared pirates in history. Her intelligence and business acumen caught the attention of the notorious pirate Zhang Yi, whom she married in 1801 under the condition that she would share equal control of his pirate fleet. Upon Zhang Yi's death in 1807, Qing Shi swiftly consolidated power, forming strategic alliances and taking command of the formidable Red Flag Fleet, which eventually grew to include up to 1,800 ships and 70,000 pirates. Under her leadership, the fleet dominated the South China Sea, defeating China, Portuguese, and British naval forces. Qing Shi enforced a strict code of conduct among her pirates, mandating the registration and fair distribution of loot, forbidding unauthorized violence, and imposing brutal punishments for disobedience, theft, or abuse. Her rules extended to the treatment of female captives, with harsh penalties for the rape or infidelity, and a unique system for pirates to marry captives under strict conditions. Despite her ruthless tactics, Qing Shi was also a shrewd negotiator. After a series of defeats in 1809 to 1810, she accepted an amnesty from the Qing government, securing her freedom and retaining her wealth. Qing Shi died peacefully in 1844, leaving behind a legacy as the most successful pirate in history and a rare example of a woman who not only survived but thrived in a brutal male-dominated world.